Well, welcome back, my friends all, to another rousing rendition. Choir Boys Outdoors, a different one. We're not narrating today. I just want to walk you through this. Now, this is the CCK-01 Gen 2 and the accompanying trainer from Half Breed Blades. I did a hard use review on the CCK-01 XL this week. I'm going to link it in the description. We did a lot of cutting, a lot of stabbing, but I wanted to make sure we had a video in where we just go over it. Sometimes with the narration and all the cutting, that's great, and I love it. It's what I do. But sometimes a lot gets lost. A lot of info don't get put out. So let's go over it. We're going to discuss what the CCK part means in a minute. I wanted to show you what you get from Half Breeds with the packaging. They do a phenomenal job. Now, we're going to talk about each one individually, but this is the trainer, all steel, so it's got a good weight, aluminum scales there. We're going to talk about this whole thing, but it's what it says it is. It's the trainer, and I'm going to try to keep the thing as focused as possible. You know I'm a technological idiot. This is the trainer, okay? This is something that I also do actually carry. Both of these blades came with the trainer, and I'm going to tell you why I asked for that, or I said yes when they asked me. Now, the big thing with Half Breed, there's several things, but one of the big things is they make sure you're covered in the way you carry it. They put this style, a Tech Lock style, with it. And this is my preferred method. You can lock it, right? It locks that way. Slide it to the left, push in, and open up. This is my preferred method. That's the way I have the XL set up. I'll show you here. For me, and I carry mine just like this. For me, it's the most practical. You can choose. But the thing that I like about it is they give you a ton of options. Now, this one's set up, I believe, Molly compatible, but they're also PALS compatible. They give you those options. So you've got your Kydex sheath, right? I didn't have it snapped in. Attaboy. You can always count on old Scab for some hard-hitting stuff. Snapped it in. You hear the snap there. This one, you slide up, boom, put your strap or whatever through it, back down, boom, you're locked in. I'm going to keep this one this way, or I might just take this off, right? I am huge about sticking these things in my pockets. However, we'll talk about that because I wanted to cover a couple things. Now let's do this. This is the packaging. They do a phenomenal job, man. What I'm going to do is we'll pull this out, and we'll go ahead and pull the blade out. I'm going to move over and sit down where we can chat. And again, if this isn't your style of video, I totally get it. I'm linking the hard use video in the description, but I wanted just to cover a few things with you. The other thing Half Breed does is they send an envelope full of info. I'm just going to show it to you and then we'll go through it. That's a description of the CCK-01 Gen 2, your warranty, obviously the thing that's most important to most knife guys, stickers and patches, that kind of stuff. We don't talk about a lot of this stuff on the channel. I always scream about function. I am a big function guy. But like I said, some of this stuff is just too good not to discuss. So let's move over to the chair and we'll discuss a few things before the dogs play, son. The Half Breed Blades medium infantry knife. I believe this is the spear point. Why am I bringing this up? Because this is a combat utility knife. Now, I'm not a veteran. We know that. Never been in the military. So, but I have done this now long enough and I messed with knives long enough to give you my opinion based on use and that kind of thing. To me, a combat utility knife is a knife that, yeah, you can fight with, you can defend yourself with, you can do all that with, but you can also build a shelter, open an MRE, start a fire, do whatever. It's a utility knife. You can do everything. These are not combat utility knives. They're not fighters either, right? What these are get off of me knives. That's what they do. It's a dagger. Again, I like the multiple options that Half Breed Blades gives you for carry. These are made simply in a self-defense manner, or if you want to sneak up on somebody and do that. But basically what these were designed for is if somebody gets on you, you carry it in a manner so you can get to it, you can get them off of you and get to your primary weapon. That is the military application for this knife. Now, we always hear about, I got my gun. That's great. That's great. And you should. If you are in those situations where you feel like you need a gun and that's your best option of self-defense, the man, do so. There have been times where I put one in my pocket, right? But if you can't get to it, what good is it? Now, I don't know that as a civilian, you're going to walk around with this strapped to you like this, right? However, and I will say this honestly, that's why I like the Tech Lock. All of this stuff, whether it's the CCK-01 XL, and I like this particular blade. I really, really do. There's just something about it. I like the longer version of it. I wanted to break out and go over more the CCK-01 Gen 2. I've already done a hard use video on this one. I'm going to link that in the description. But the one thing that I wanted to discuss with you on this stuff, well, there's several things. I don't know why I always say that. One of the things, I'll phrase it that way, was this. What the hell? Okay. The trainers. I want to touch base on these real quick. Now, you can opt simply for the knife if you buy it, right? Or they have the option of a package. The benefit of the trainer, because I think a lot of times we hear about these and we're like, am I really going to practice with it? Am I going to do? Well, you might. But the thing with Half-Breed is they make these are all metal. I believe the handle scales are aluminum. I could be wrong, but they're metal. They're the same weight, same balance, etc. To me, this is as much a weapon as the dagger. This is a non-lethal option. There have been times where I have carried this on my walk. Why? One, if you get pulled over by law enforcement and you have this edge, there's going to be questions, right? There just is. Now it's not double-edged. And I don't have my tape measure right here on me, but I do have one that is legal, perfectly legal in Florida. It's right here. The CCK-01 Gen 2. Now, this is less than 4 inches. In Florida, in the state of Florida, I can carry this concealed as long as it's under 4.5 inches or 4.5 inches and under. And that's important. It's important to know your state laws. The thing is this, could you carry it? Well, you can. It is specific for military applications. It can also be specific for civilian life, for self-defense. Donnie Balday always touches on this, and it's a great point. Self-defense isn't always, that situation that you always hear about against someone. You can be in the woods hunting. You can come against a hog. You can come against something like that, an animal that can get out of the woods, get on you quickly before you can get your weapon up. It's happened before, right? Now, I don't advocate you fighting a hog with this. That's not what I'm saying. But if what we're saying and what we're talking about is this, a self-defense, that means it's on you. If a hog's hit you and you've dropped your gun, they probably already gored you. So you're pretty screwed. But if you need something, go, to the eye, go whatever to get it off of you. This is a get off of me dagger. Now, here's the thing. These are not made to stab through everything I stabbed that one through. I've stabbed it through a ton of stuff to prove the toughness. One thing I do, I say this quite often, I'm not here to break something. When I see something like this, I look at it and I really, really think about the things I want to stab. Well, I want to stab a tire for a couple of reasons. One is it's tougher than human skin, right? A lot of times it'll have wires in it that can screw up the edge, but it's also kind of flimsy, right? Parts can be flimsy and you get thicker and you get thinner. So when you stab that tire, you can stab that tire in certain manners where it kind of wiggles on you. It'll pop the knife. It can screw the edge up. So I like stabbing a tire. And then I like cutting the tire tread with a stump under it, something solid. But these are made to go through flesh and bone. That's what these are. Be it a human, be it an animal, whatever. That's what these are for. That's what these excel at. That's what it needs to go through. Half-Breed does a phenomenal job with their heat treat, with their sharpness. We've seen that time and time and time again. So using this for the application, self-defense, I love it. I really do. This one's a little smaller, a little easier to conceal. We talked about this in the other video. And again, if you're interested in the stabbing and things like that, the cutting, the hard use video, I'll link it in the description. If you really take a look at that, a lot of times you go, well, what's the reason to this? Now, we've got the hump here. I talked about it in the other video. I love this. I love this not from a standpoint of locking you in, right? Because it does, but it's not 100% guaranteed. What that does for me, what this lump does for me, is I know the edge. I know the orientation of the edge. Does that make sense? So if I'm not sure and I'm going to pull it, now I know how to get my knife set up. You know that before you ever walk out of the house, or you should. You should be comfortable enough to know how you have it oriented, right? You just should. Proper planning will alleviate a lot of problems. You know, this survival situation. Well, a lot of that can be solved by proper planning, by not putting yourself in that position. There are times where it's unavoidable. Shit just comes out of nowhere. I realize that. But the more you can be prepared, the better off you are. That little lump helps prepare that. So now I know which way my edge is oriented. I've been asked if that's a can opener. I haven't tried it yet. I don't think it will be put on there for that reason. I think it's something you can put your thumb through or on top of. The original design for these was a broken pair of scissors, or the original thought process. That's where this come from. A lot of our operators, or a lot of operators in general, in Iraq and Afghanistan, had something that they carried up high. Well, an enemy combatant's going to recognize immediately a knife. So what these guys did is they broke scissors in half. They attached them to their gear. Now you see half of a scissor sticking out. So it's some resemblance to that. Now, I am sure there's other reasons for that. Okay. So I'm not just trying to pass it off as that. I want you to understand that. The original design, I think, pays homage to that, but I am sure there are other reasons. It has an indentation here where you can really get in it. And again, you can feel the edge. You know where that edge is. Only one side is sharpened, so it's not a true dagger. Now, I made the comment in the other video that it wasn't a fighting knife and got a little blowback on that. Nothing bad. It's like with scabbats. Listen, there's a difference in self-defense and fighting. There's a difference. Self-defense is I am struggling for my life. You are on top of me. I'm getting you off of me to get to my primary weapon. Or you're on top of me. I'm getting you off of me to be able to get away in a civilian setting. I'm getting you off of me to buy some time. Can you kill somebody? Absolutely, you can. You can do that with a butter knife. But these were designed to get someone off primary weapon or get somebody off and move away. Now, if you jug somebody with that 3 or 4 times, they're done. They're gone. They're getting off of you. They're at least trying to get away from you. What I want to cover with this is, and some people talk about the need for the serrations. Well, I think that's a stylistic choice. I am not a serrations guy. I never have been. Does it bother me on something like this? No. Other than the aesthetic, no. I know that it's going to penetrate. And guys, here's the thing, man. I mean, let's just be real about it. We always talk about, well, kill somebody. All that sounds great, sounds tough, until you have to live with it every single day of your life. Right? Especially in a civilian, it's never easy to deal with, but in a civilian situation, you know, you don't want to think about that. Believe me, you don't. Not every day. However, if it comes down to me going home or losing my life, I'm going home. We'll make that, you know, but I can live with it a lot better if I'm alive. I wanted to cover this one specifically, and I do want to touch base on that because I do think it's important. We make a lot of statements, and you see a lot of videos, and you see a lot of YouTube stuff, and you hear all this stuff based on one, yes, we live in a day and age where you may have to defend yourself. That may happen. But we've gotten so cold to it, so callous to it, there's no real thought to it. If you really start to think about it and you really start to put it to the practice and you really start to think about the legalities, which we all need to do when making choices and buying and carrying and whatever, it's a big deal, right? I want to give you some specs on the CCK Gen2, and I'll just, instead of trying to say everything, I'll do that. So what I'm going to do, guys, is they send you a card with everything on it. Now, I have double checked the measurements. I didn't want to waste a lot of time with a tape measure and go back and forth. Really, truly, honestly, I was very, very pleasantly surprised that they hit. And it's not a matter of trying to fact check, but a lot of times, even with stuff that's water jetted or CNC'd or whatever, there can be clips and there can be mismatches. So I pulled the dimensions on this one firsthand. They were spot on. I went through about half of these, spot on. So let me give you the dimensions. Let me just go through the whole thing. CCK stands for Compact Clearance Knife. That's CCK, Compact Clearance Knife. It's a fixed blade. The blade steel is K110. You've got about a 59 or a 60 on the heat treat, polished and partially serrated edge. It's Teflon coated. Half-Breed does an amazing job with their coatings. My actual real life job is sandblasting and powder coating and some liquid coatings. I am huge on coatings. They do a great job with their Teflon. It is a spear point. The blade length is 3.94 inches or 100 millimeters. The blade thickness is 0.23 inches or 6 millimeters. On the actual daggers, it's G10 handle scales. The handle thickness all the way across is 0.55 inches or 14 millimeters. We have an overall length of 7.79 inches or 198 millimeters. The sheath, I think I said it's Kydex. It's not. It's injection molded plastic. The sheath weight is 1.94 ounces or 55 grams. The knife weight is 4.19 ounces. That's not bad. That's really not. Or 119 grams. Overall weight, and that's what a lot of people care about, is 6.3 ounces. That's the whole thing, sheath and all. The knife weight's 4.19. Let me get caught up. Overall length, 6.13 ounces or 174 gram. Mounting, and that's big. And I'm going to try to get other models of this from other companies and do a comparison of how they're carried. But the mounting, belt and pals / Molly, your color options, black, dark earth, Ranger green, and that is from Half-Breed Blades, and they're out of Australia. They also send a certificate of authenticity, and then they send stuff that most knife guys care the most about, and that is stickers and patches. And we all know how knife guys love their stickers and patches. What I have discovered with Half-Breed, and they've been gracious and courteous to send me stuff to check out, and Kirk has a good amount that I've checked out and been able to do some hard use on. The thing that they do well, they do several. Packaging's outstanding for those of you that matter. If you're going to spend the amount of money on that, then it should matter. It should look good, right? They make sure that your knife is always sharp. That is a big thing with me too. If you're going to spend that money, make sure, take the time. The knife sharp, and they are well constructed. They really, truly are. They make some tough stuff. I wanted to wrap up the video talking about the trainers. I think these are great to get the feel, to get the weight, to get the balance. They're very, very close. So if you're doing some practice with one, it should flow easily into the actual blade. But I wanted to take a second and talk to you about this actually being a weapon or something that you prefer to carry. One thing that they do, I don't know why I always say that. They do several things, but something they do that I like is the trainer snaps in. I have actually carried this. Why? It's a non-lethal option. Now, we always, when you watch videos and you watch all this shit and you hear people talk, people always, you think that you're going to get jumped by, SEAL Team 6 or, some crazed lunatic. Guys, I hate to be the one to bust your bubble, but most of the time if you're defending yourself, it's probably from a tweaker, right? Or somebody that's just desperate or crazy. Most people aren't going to be a 32nd degree black belt and come out of nowhere and you've got to do knife fighting. You just don't. If you stab somebody with this, right, wrong, or indifferent, odds are you're going to jail until at least you get it sorted out. Now, I'll say it again, if it comes down to me going home to my wife and my grandchildren or being a nice guy and letting someone go, I'm going home. I don't want to do that. I don't want that on my mind. But we live in that day and age where it has to be considered. So instead of that, because if some crazy old guy comes and jumps on you and you stab the shit out of him 40 times, how much of a hero are you going to feel like, right? And if you get attacked by SEAL Team 6, you're never even going to remember you had this on. My point to you is Half-Breed also sends you a trainer. Yes, you can train with it. I carry this a lot on my walks. It is a non-lethal option because I promise you this, my dear boys and girls. You poke somebody in the ribs a few times with this, they'll get off of you. Some brachial stuns, some jabs here, smack them with it. This is as much a weapon as this. However, if you get pulled over with something like this, they're just going to be more curious. I'm telling you, okay? It gives you a non-lethal option. Now, again, the idea of this knife and this concept is to get someone off of you. Get them off. The military is to get them off of you, get to your primary weapon, and engage. Civilian use, same thing. Get them off of you. Now, if you're, again, like we said in the beginning, if you carry a pistol and you live in an area where you feel like you do, and some areas are like that, you get them off to get to the pistol. But again, there's far-reaching consequences. I can't stress that enough. This is as good an option, in my opinion. Matter of fact, I'm going to carry it tonight. It's as good an option, in my opinion. It feels the same. It's solid steel. It's well made. It'll get you out of a jam, right? There'll be some disagreements there, and that's the beauty of doing these videos. I want to thank Half Breed Blades for sending me this stuff. Yeah, as you will start to see some shorts and things like that with the Gen 2, stabbing tires and showing you some of that. Remember, I do a lot of that shit just for fun, as well as show the strengths of the knife. Bear in mind too, when we're doing that, these are flesh and bone type knives. That's what they're made for, right? So if I decide to stab a tire, I'd rather do that. You're not going to see me stab a lot of car doors. I may, just to show you the strength. It's not what it's made for. They are not throwing knives, although I throw them very, very well. Man, thank y'all so much for checking out this video. Thank y'all so much for all the love and support. I'm going to wrap it up with this. There was a time in this country where 22 veterans a day took their own lives. Now, it's the weekend, that number's higher. That's why here on this channel, we simply focus on the number 0. Anything over 0 is simply unacceptable. Vets, we love you. Man, you have a place here. Back to blue. I had somebody get all worked up because they didn't listen to what I was saying and they got all bent out of shape. I say the same thing over and over. That's my choice, my reasons, and something that I hold to. I don't ask you guys to do that. That also fits nicely there. I don't ask you guys to do that. Something I believe in. I don't need anyone's take on it. I understand it, and I'll hear, well, back blue till it happens to you. It's happened to me more than it'll happen to you. I have my reasons. It's not an arguing point, it's something I believe in. Finally, if you are an addict, and Lord knows I am, never quit quitting. I love y'all, man. God knows I do.